Because all that we are, all the things that we aspire to be, they don't become reality until we start speaking them into reality. Not necessarily literally all the time, but the way that you act, the way that you speak, right? It all reflects your inner world. And so as your inner world starts to shift, it's only natural that you're going to encounter differences in the way that you express. Hello, and welcome back to Embodying Mystical Mac. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining, and if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. Whether you're on the podcast or you're watching via YouTube, I am so incredibly grateful to have you here with me today. And today we're going to do another personal episode. I'd like to, as I get in the swing of doing 2 episodes/videos per week, I'd like one of them to be something that is close to my heart and more personal, whereas the other one a little bit more fun and commentary related, things of the like. So this is another personal episode, and this one is quite peculiar, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had this journey, especially if you're a singer. So before we get into all that, I just wanted to remind you that I am on my road to my first 1,000 subscribers and to being monetized on YouTube. So if you are listening on the podcast and are interested in seeing a video version or even watching some of my reaction videos or commentaries on the channel, go ahead and go to my YouTube, click subscribe, help me out. I'm just so excited to even be doing this. It's so exciting. So please help me out, subscribe, click the bell so you know exactly when I post, as I do post regularly, but I don't have a set schedule just yet. And the bell helps you know exactly when my videos and episodes come out. If you're on the podcast exclusively and you haven't followed the podcast yet, please go ahead and do so. And if you would be so kind to leave a review, it would be incredibly appreciated. Lastly, I am offering tarot readings, so go ahead and click the link, or go to the link. It'll be in the description as well as up here, so you can go ahead and put that into your browser and you can book a tarot reading. I'm doing them by donation right now, and they are 30-minute readings. I suggest a $20 donation. However, you donate whatever you see fit. And by going to calendly.com/mysticalmac, you can book a reading with me. I've been reading tarot for over 10 years, and the cards are just amazing at taking the energy that they're given and showing guidance. So if you're in need of some guidance, or you know people who are, go ahead and send them my way. Next, let's finally just get into this topic. I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be titled right now at this moment that I'm recording. However, it's going to have something to do with finding my voice literally and figuratively. And something having to do with it being a paradox. Because I'll get into all that. First, when I'm talking about finding my voice, what do I mean by that? Well, if you are a writer, you may have heard the term finding your voice in the sense of your writing style, right? I'm talking quite literally finding my singing voice, and then figuratively finding this guiding point of manifestation. Because all that we are, all the things that we aspire to be, they don't become reality until we start speaking them into reality. Not necessarily literally all the time, but the way that you act, the way that you speak, right? It all reflects your inner world. And so as your inner world starts to shift, it's only natural that you're going to encounter differences in the way that you express outwardly. And a big part of being a content creator, whatever kind of content you create, for myself, it's been predominantly this spoken type of podcasting content that obviously I'm now bringing to YouTube, but what am I doing on YouTube if just looking at you while I'm speaking, right? So it's still primarily without my speaking, there's not much going on. This has been my primary form of content creation, and of course, having a voice here is very important, but it also applies in my artwork. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted a time lapse of myself working on a painting recently, and finding my voice in art, my style, right? That's a synonym for my voice when it comes to visual art. It's a thing. It's a thing that matters if I'm going to be truly original. And I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that anyone can be ever truly original, because we've been borrowing from our predecessors for ages and ages and ages, and been inspired by the people that came before us. So nothing's ever truly original, but you, I'm sure, know what I'm trying to say when I say something truly original. How can I be original if I don't speak in my own voice, right? And speaking of learning from our predecessors, when it comes to singing, we often learn to sing via learning or via hearing others that we enjoy singing, right? So I learned to sing via listening to a bunch of musical theater and Taylor Swift and pop and, on occasion R&B and rap. And I learned by listening to others, especially because I wasn't someone that was fortunate to have musical training in my childhood or even early life at all. That's something that I came to much later. And that plays a huge part into my particular story in finding my voice. Because I had to learn to sing as myself, which sounds super silly when you say it out loud. It's like, duh, how could you sing as anybody else? But that's the thing. And you'll find this to be true if you observe karaoke enough. I love to go karaoke, and something that I love to observe is when you have people that get up there that are singers or have a sort of like knack or talent for singing. Because you can tell that they're singing as themselves, whereas everyone else essentially sings as whatever artist the song they're performing is by. They're just taking the style and not just the lyrics, and the tune, but they're also taking the vocal style, the dynamic, everything from, or the dynamics of the song and the melody and whatever, from the artist whose song they're singing. And it's gotten me thinking for a long time about making this video and episode, because it's such a paradox, right? You have to hear others sing to be inspired to do it yourself. And in hearing others sing, once you know enough about technique and stuff, you can help yourself learn more and sing better. However, you don't really embody and flourish in singing until you sing as yourself. And isn't that just symbolic for literally creation across the board? You don't become whatever it is, that you don't have that thing, that it factor, until it becomes entirely you. And there's a reason that plenty of us find so much depth and inspiration in art that's inspired by deep feeling, oftentimes deep sorrow. How many of Adele's albums have ever been happy? But they're all bangers because they're full of feeling. Not only they're full of feeling, she's found her voice, so she can express her experience entirely authentically, and it speaks to us, right? In order to come to this magnificent conclusion of singing and singing as myself. It was my second vocal coach that I've ever had in my whole life. My first vocal coach was amazing at teaching me a lot of technique, at teaching me how to hear differences in pitch and all those kinds of things that are obviously very necessary. But my second vocal coach was all about just learning to embody me, learning to embody myself in songs. And I never quite grasped it during our vocal lessons. Wilkie, if you're out there listening right now, thank you. But it was after, when I started to sort of employ the things that I learned from him in karaoke, right? In really low stakes situations. And it became so clear to me what he meant. It became so clear what it was to just sing as myself. Say the words as I would, right? As opposed to how I hear them said in the song. It sounds so simple when I say it out loud, but it truly blew my mind. One of those things that it's like when you see a psychological, emotional blind spot that you never saw for yourself before, and your whole world opens up because now you can change that thing. You can have control over it. That is how I felt. And I truly believe that, once that idea, because that was the thing, I don't believe that I was aware of my singing as other people. I don't believe that I was fully aware of that and how much that was holding me back until I heard him say it, right? We're just trying to get you to jam and vibe as you. Like, say it as you would say it. Sing it like you're telling me a story. And now, every time I come to a song that I'm having difficulty singing, because another thing that I learned via Wilkie, which was amazing, is that I'm not a mezzo-soprano. I'm a soprano. And there were so many songs I was scared to even try, and I think I was kind of partially traumatized, like secondhand traumatized, because I knew someone in college that really strained their voice and like screwed it up for a while. Not indefinitely, I believe, but like for a while. And I just didn't want to try things that I perceived to be outside of my range. And it wasn't until working with that vocal coach that I was like, oh no, like I can do these things. And I realized that a lot of my fear of hitting high notes and things like that, it was because and if you're a singer, if you've trained at all in singing, this will make sense to you. The vowel shapes, the shapes that I was creating in my mouth weren't authentic to me when I was singing. They were authentic to whatever person I was hearing sing. And so that was affecting how I was singing, and therefore how difficult or how easy it was to hit those notes. Now, of course, without the foundational work that I've gotten from my first vocal, or that I had gotten from my first vocal coaching experience, receiving vocal coaching, my voice wouldn't have been properly worked out to now be the versatile thing that it is, right? My mixed range wouldn't have gotten the work that it did, to now be something that I can just slip in and out of so easily, so long as I am singing as myself authentically. Such a freaking paradox. And the same thing goes with my creation. With my physical creations, my visual creations, I realize that I can get better when it comes to technique, right? Always, of course, just like with singing. And that's something that I look to improve, is my technique with sketching and painting and the like. But at the end of the day, like, I am working on honing who I am in that style, in that field. And the same goes to this, like, part of my style in podcasting, in YouTubing, in this medium of content creation that I'm exercising right now, is the fact that I don't edit shit out. I don't know if you've all noticed this, but my episodes go from start to finish, and there are no edits. We don't cut out pauses. Don't get me wrong, when this was Mac Talks, Conversations with an Old Soul, holy shit, anybody here from that time? Because if you are, please comment, please leave a podcast review. Oh my god, I just spat all over my camera because I got so excited. Please leave a comment. Please leave a podcast review if you're here from all the way, like, high vibrations with with high vibrations with Mac. What that was? Mac Talks, conversations with an old soul. That is old renditions of this podcast that is now embodying Mystical Mac and will likely stay embodying Mystical Mac. Holy shit. But genuinely, I used to cut pauses out. Like, I used to cut, moments of silence out. I used to edit ums and uhs and and rights and whatever else. And I don't do that anymore because part of my whole thing, my style, my creative voice is this idea of doing this thing that I'm doing here from start to finish. Obviously, that's not always going to be the case. I am not always going to finish a painting in a whole sitting, though that was something I used to really love doing for some reason. Nowadays, it's not quite the same. I think my ADHD has just like really rooted into who I am. I think it used to be prevalent and present, but now that I have an actual full-blown adult life, there's so much else going on to perpetuate the hyperactivity in my brain that it's just sitting down for hours upon end without being in that sort of ADHD hyperfocus state. Probably not super likely, but hey, that's something I used to do a lot, is hyperfocus on my paintings. And I wouldn't necessarily call filming, a hyperfocus situation. However, going back to the original point, part of my creative voice here on this medium is being able to do this thing from start to finish and not having edited parts out. I don't have a super solid explanation for it. It used to be that it was more low maintenance for me to edit. But this is also a skill that I'm trying to hone, because as much as I love memorizing scripts and performing in that way, acting, that is the medium in which I will memorize a script for. When it comes to speaking in this way, I would rather, just like I've always done so far, if you've known me on my YouTube career, I shouldn't even say that because I've put out YouTubes before. The last several months and this journey of embodying Mystical Mac on YouTube, I've been doing the notes thing. I create an outline and I just go through it and I speak, and it gives you an episode from start to finish. That's how I like this medium to be, this more personal medium. Don't get me wrong though. I can nail a script. I will memorize every word like you want it. And do a good job with it, if I do say so myself. Yeah. It's a really interesting thing. This is kind of a really niche episode, but I'm also attempting to use this idea of finding my singing voice, which, by the way, I probably should have started with this. This has been a dream my whole life. My whole life I have dreamt of being able to sing, because there is something about, there's musical theater theory, where the reason that musical theater works the way that it works is because characters get to an emotional peak and they can't express with words anymore. It just has to be song and dance and whatever, the things you see in musicals. And I have felt emotion so intensely my whole life, and part of what helps me get through those really difficult feelings a lot of the time is music. And to be able to be good at expressing through song, through spoken song, is something that my inner child has dreamt of being able to do. I think in all of my lifetimes, I have been some sort of just singer, vocalizer, I don't know. And it was one of those things where like music and rhythm have always come so naturally to me. But the mechanics of singing, I mean, it's a lot like something like working out and weightlifting. Some people, have that natural form and it's awesome, but a lot of people just have to be taught the proper form to do, downward dog correctly and to the most to be able to reap the rewards of that pose the most, to be able to do a squat in the way that you're going to reap the best rewards from it. A lot of us have to be taught. And the vocal cord, the voice, not a vocal cord as if there's just one, but your vocal cords, all of that, your soft palate, your whole vocal anatomy, it's all a muscle. And so long as you're not straying out of your proper form, it's just going to get stronger over time. And that's how I have felt with my voice. And then just now that I've finally been able to implement who I truly am into it, I feel like it's opened up a whole world, a whole fucking world. And it's permeated through all of my artistic mediums. And I'm just super grateful, man. It is a dream to be able to sing. And I don't, it's interesting. There are parts of me that are like not convinced that I'm a good singer. But I know I am. I've worked hard to be. And not like hard like it was arduous. Like it was all awesome work. It's been a great journey. No complaints. I still have a lot to learn. But like to be here, like I need to start owning my voice more because it's beautiful. I intend it to be. It'll put my babies to sleep someday. And voice some sort of awesome female badass animated characters that little girls and boys can aspire to worldwide. Manifestation moment with Mystical Mac, anyone? Wow. Didn't think I'd cry at this one. I thought I might, but by this point I was like, nah, I'm in the clear. Never mind. Thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed yet, please do. I would love to have you here on Embodying Mystical Mac again. And I would love to get this channel one subscriber closer to being monetized. Because my dream is just to be able to do this for a living. This, and then branch this out into all the other ways that I can create and add value to the world in a way that I know how. In a way that a lot of people are out there, but none of them have my voice. And I'm ready to share it. And I appreciate your support on this journey. So, yeah. I am like, subscribe, click the bell so you know when I post next. Go ahead and go to calendly.com/mysticalmac to book a tarot reading. And if you don't want to do any of those things, I'm just really grateful you popped in. Stay mystical, stay grounded, and I will catch you next time. Mwah. Oh, and if you're on the podcast and you like to watch people react to shit, I highly suggest you check me out on YouTube because I'm just about to record a Inuyasha reaction. Woo! Anime rewatch! Okay, bye!